Hi, Anesh. I just see you in there. Yep, good. Everybody's in there. Good.
Okay, Patrick, we can all see your screen, so whenever you're ready. Can we hear him? You're on mute there. Let me just see if I can.
Okay, can you hear me?
There we go.
Very good.
Perfect.
Okay, Alec, you can press the record button now. Anyway, good morning, everybody from Franklin. My name is Patrick. I come from Dublin, and I'm going to take you on a little excursion through the world of hashtags and social media. And I hope to give you some tips and indicators and ideas as to how you can use this wonderful tool to promote your businesses in future and get more quality and quantity visiting your content on whether it's Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, or Facebook. I'm going to tell you a story though. In here, another sec.
Broken.
What's happening here? Okay. Okay. I'm going to tell you a story about a castle. There's me many, many years ago when I was nice and thin on the banks of the River Rhine, on the tower there you see in the middle in the Marksburg. Now, the Marksburg is a castle that is 1,000 years old. And I had the privilege and honor of working there as a guide. And I also lived in the castle in the autumn of 1988. Now, why am I showing you a picture of an old German castle? Well, this castle is very special. It's the only undestroyed medieval knight's castle on the banks of the River Rhine. It's over 1,000 years old, and it's survived. And it's faced many challenges, many dilemmas, many new technologies, and lots of people in its day. And it has survived to this very day in this wonderful aspect. Now, today, many of us are also having to press a reset button or a restart button because of COVID, or we're having to reinvent ourselves. So how did the Marksburg survive? Other castles were destroyed, other castles crumbled, other castles were radically transformed in the Romantic revival and Neo-Gothic revivals of the 19th century. You see the same thing happening in Britain and Ireland. But the Marksburg, what it did was it adapted its function and its structure according to the needs of its times. So originally it was a small castle, a tower surrounded by a wall, and a Romanesque palace to guard the hinterland and collect taxes from ships sailing up and down the River Rhine. In the Gothic period, it was a representative structure. The tower grew bigger. They added the butter churn on top. And then in the 30 Years' War, it had to become a fortress with cannon batteries in order to hold off Swedish enemies. And then life passed it by. People moved out. It wasn't comfortable anymore. It was cold and wet and damp. It became a prison. And then Napoleon garrisoned troops there in the early 19th century. But in 1899, Kaiser Wilhelm, he handed the castle over to an association called the German Castles Association, and they run it to this very day, and they carry out research on castles in Germany and in Europe. It's also a major tourism magnet now, originally with US groups coming when I was living there and Japanese coming along the Rhine in ships and boats. And in the last couple of years, there have been visits by hundreds of thousands of Chinese who are on their way to visit Karl Marx's birthplace in the Roman city of Trier. So I want you to impregnate this castle onto your mind because it survived 1,000 years. It has changed functions, structures, pasts, and that's what we're in the process of doing today. And how did people do this in those times? How did they defend themselves? And one of the things they had was a thing called a crossbow was developed, and it was a great equalizer of the Middle Ages because it meant a normal person could actually take down a heavily armored knight, whether on foot or horseback. And also they could be used to defend castles through the arrow loops you see in St. King John's Castle and Dublin Castle and places like that. So it became a great equalizer, and it meant the small people and the small soldiers could suddenly face up to the big guys. And that's how I want you to think of hashtags. They are the crossbows in your armory when you are working with social media marketing and promotion for your brand and your business today. Now, the hashtag is quite new on the scene. They first arrived in 2007. A gentleman from the United States of America called Chris Messina. He was the first ever person to tweet a hashtag. And you create hashtags basically by placing this hash symbol, which the older listeners and viewers might remember was a feature of the push button telephones in the 1980s. You place it in front of a word or in front of an unspaced phrase. So I've created for this network the hashtag DBON. So you don't have to think of a lot, you just think of DBON, search under it, place your content, and all of us will see it. It can contain letters or digits like Galway 2020, and also you can look for specific themes on the internet. If you're interested in marketing or in crazy or in our discussion group here, you can look under this hashtag and find out what's going on. Also, you can search an actual whole archive based on a hashtag theme, especially in Twitter and LinkedIn. It's very useful. So that's the longest text of this presentation. What I want you to do later on in the exercise is to see how you can use hashtags to follow people. You can follow people, you can follow brands, topics of interest. You may be looking for business leads. You may have a special interest. You might like to buy a Tesla car from Anthony later on. And you can use hashtags on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Google, and LinkedIn. A lot of people relate hashtags to Twitter, but it's not just simply Twitter. Hashtags are very significant for people, especially selling products on Instagram. They've become so popular on Instagram that Instagram has actually limited the amount of hashtags you can use. Now, I'll just give you an example of using a hashtag. Now, we had Michael a couple of weeks ago who gave us an excellent presentation on mind maps. Now, he generated my interest in mind maps. So I went to Twitter and I looked today on Twitter under mind maps and see what's happening in the world. Here's the latest post now on mind maps. I can see what's happening all around the world under this subject, or I can just look at what's happening near Frankfurt am Main. So Michael, get on Twitter now and post some content under the hashtag mind maps. So that's one example. Next example is you can use hashtags actually to research. Social media is a wonderful resource to research. You don't have to go into a big library anymore. You have literally the world and its content and research and statistics at your fingertips. And at the you think of hashtags also as fingertips, not just crossroads. So if you want to find out, we have a lot of ladies here today, if you want to find out who are the most powerful women entrepreneurs in the globe, search under the hashtag and you would come up with amazing people. You may be able to find new business partners. You want to see what your competitors are up to online. You want to find out what the latest trends are in your industry, which publications your peers are referring to, or maybe the response to exhibitions where you're thinking of exhibiting. These are all the kinds of things you can do with hashtags, and I'll give you an example here from LinkedIn. You're all small business entrepreneurs, so you may like to find out what's happening in the startup scene. So you can go to LinkedIn, put in the hashtag startup, and you have over 21,000 people globally involved in the startup scene who are posting content and information and documents and events and conferences on LinkedIn. So very useful contacts for you there. A lot of people use hashtags to gain attention. Now, this is a nice story. This is a lady from Walkinstown in Dublin, Dr. Susan Walsh, who over 10 years ago set up a private business college in Munich. She's allied to Griffith College in Dublin, who compare degrees, a bachelor in business studies, but it's a private college geared to the children of the owners of medium-sized enterprises in Germany and Europe. So she uses hashtags very effectively to keep in touch with her alumni, to keep in touch with parents of students and potential students, and to keep in touch with students as well, or vice versa, students letting the public outside know what is happening in their college. So it's very, very good for advertising. Every month, Susan has a regular feature called Date with the Dean, and then the students post under a hashtag, for instance, BBC Moments, and when they're seeking new students, under the simple hashtag Study Business. So very, very successful, Achtung baby, as Bono would say. Also, something people don't recognize is using hashtags and working in that environment is very good in terms of rewards from Google. Google rewards engagement nowadays. You don't have to post tons and tons of content, but you have to have engaged content and content with which people engage. So using targeted hashtags is a very good way to get people to engage with your content, whether on YouTube or on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and all of the other channels that you may be using for your business. So very good for your search engine optimization. You're all involved in business, so you are all, I take it, involved in promoting that business. So you can build brand awareness and brand recognition using hashtags. And this isn't just for the big guys. Okay, I've got an American football team here, Seattle Seahawks. They're co-branding with Coca-Cola under the hashtag Share a Coke. But even as a small business entrepreneur, you are a personal brand. You are your brand. Your person and everything you transmit and everything you communicate is your personal brand and therefore your business brand. A lot of hashtags tend to be used with funny or witty or subtle humor graphics. So the Mexicans have a nice campaign to sell their avocados. So it's under Avo Secrets. Audi in Germany have a nice dark photo motif, so long vampires, now with the lights lighting up. And then Diesel, a jeans manufacturer, was rebooting its image and rebooting who it was planning to sell to or hoping to sell to. And so they've got simply "We Are Connected" and then Diesel reboot. So very, very simple, easy to remember phrases that stick with a message and communicate a message. So how easier does it get done? I mean, it's a no-brainer in many ways, but often it's something, because it's been there now for over a decade, people just take for granted. So it's good to use it to think about how you can actually be more active in your promotions and relate it to what you're doing B2B, B2C, social media, but also in television, in radio, in print advertisements. Have it featured throughout all media so that people come and find you on whichever social media platform they have on their telephone, PC, or laptop. Here's a final example of using hashtags to connect. This example is taken from the Irish Business Network in Germany. There are just over 200 members of an informal business group on LinkedIn. The IBN Germany is the hashtag, with different events taking place around the country. Needless to say now, any events are taking place on Zoom, but last year there were quite a number of events. On the left-hand side here, you see the Frankfurt Rhein-Main, which is a big business get-together before Christmas. So we're connecting, we're at the event physically, but co-branding with the event online. In other words, our little grouping linked together with this big grouping here regionally and locally, which Irish business people want to connect with. Another example is strategic alignment. They don't just have to be individual events you're referring to, but maybe strategic alignment with, for instance, the IHK, the Industry and Handelskammer Frankfurt. That's the Frankfurt Chamber of Industry and Commerce. So again, an event with the Chamber of Industry and Commerce, linking our coverage of the event, pre-event, during the event, and post-event, linking the two hashtags, IBN Germany and IHK Frankfurt. So anybody interested in IHK Frankfurt, looking up their information and content on the internet, will then see, aha, who are these people, IBN Germany, who seem to be strategically aligned with this big Chamber of Commerce. Finally, you all have special occasions. Either you're attending or you're organizing special occasions and events for your business. So for instance, excuse me, last summer, President Michael G. Higgins paid a visit to Frankfurt in July. It was sweltering 35 degrees outside, and inside the hotel, I think it was about 40. But I managed to be up front, and I got this great photo of our president in action. But again, we were able to place IBN Germany in the context of the state visit of the President of Ireland to Germany. And then we tied it in with the hashtags Ireland, Ireland, and Frankfurt, where it was taking place. And again, the occasion of this visit was very special because post-Brexit, Ireland decided to open new consulates around the world to promote business contacts for Ireland. And one of the first to be opened in mainland Europe in many, many years is in Frankfurt am Main, because Frankfurt am Main is the financial, insurance, IT, and aviation capital of Europe. London was prior to Brexit, but after Brexit, it will be Frankfurt am Main. So therefore, the government decided it was very important that Ireland had a consulate in Frankfurt that was looking after gleaning and nurturing new business for Ireland. So that's just another example for you. But now we're going to move forward. I'm finished with my presentation. You can chat to me afterwards or contact me via email or social media, LinkedIn, whichever is your platform. But I think it's time I stop talking now. I've given you some ideas and some pointers. I would like you, when you break out into your breakout groups now, to carry out the following exercise. I'd like you to put together a pertinent, succinct hashtag for your own personal brand, business, company activity. I would like you to think of a strategically aligned hashtag which you can relate to from your industry or service sector or business area. And I would like you to think of an event you have done or you plan to do, or maybe you should be planning to do, and have a nice hashtag that could go with that. So again, you can then hopefully post under the VBON hashtag. I look forward to reading your contributions then on Twitter and on LinkedIn, or if you're on Instagram. And that will be your takeaway for today. But maybe you could do that as part of a teamwork and see how you get on. So thank you very much for your attention, and wishing you all the very best in the coming weeks and months to come. So, bye.
Thank you.